Backend development is the best development job there is. Sure, the front end gets lots of praise and people ooh and ah over all the cool things that you can do inside of a web browser, but at the end of the day, the back end is where the magic really happens. Unfortunately, most boot camps spend very little, if any, time even teaching you anything about back-end development. And if they do, it's generally focused in just one main area of JavaScript frameworks. But you need to understand there's a whole world out there of back-end languages and back-end jobs. Today, I want to give you just 3 reasons why being a back-end developer might be a better career choice for you than being a full stack or front-end developer. Hey Junior Devs, Dev Mentor Dave here, helping you bridge the gap from learning to code to launching a successful career. So what do you think? Is the front end better? Is the back end better? Are they both the same? Leave a comment below and tell me whether you think you should be a front-end dev or a back-end dev. Imagine with me just for a moment that there were no backends to any of the applications that we enjoy today, whether that be applications on your phone, applications on a tablet, applications on your computer, applications on the web. All of these things didn't have any backend to them. Now, when I say backend, I'm talking about server-side code, and really that would include, frankly, databases. That would include the backend code. That would include everything except what's visually accessible to you, whether that's in your browser, your application, your computer, your phone, all those different things. What would it be like if we didn't have these backends? Well, for one, we'd have potentially some real problems because all of our business logic would be probably public, either that or we'd have to go and encrypt all of our code before we put it out there, and that could get kind of messy and hard to manage. If everything was reliant on our front-end browser, that would really slow everything down. It could be a really bad nightmare. Plus, you'd have a lot of data, maybe even other people's data stored on your devices. How would that actually work? I don't know, but it doesn't sound like a good idea to me. And I'll be honest with you, as somebody who's kind of grown up with computers and watched them change over the years, I don't know if I want to live without the cloud anymore. I like having all of my information accessible on any of my devices, and you wouldn't have that without the backend. So why do I think backend development is superior to front-end development or even to full stack jobs? Well, years ago, I used to have a job as a WordPress developer, and part of my job was building themes from scratch. And when we built the theme, we would have a design that was given to us by a designer, which was very helpful. We had an expectation, and that was that we developed pixel perfect websites. Well, if you know anything about how browsers work and the size of screens that we have today, that's pretty much impossible to do. We would literally have clients figure out the exact width of the mockups, and then they would go in and they would see, is that the exact pixel width, to make sure that we were doing it the way that we said we were going to do it. Let me tell you, that was an incredibly frustrating experience. Even though you may not face that same situation today, the reality is there's a lot of pressure on front-end developers to get things looking just right. It may not have to be pixel perfect, but it needs to look really good, and it needs to function really well, and it has to meet up with the user's expectations. Whereas with the backend, you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to do is make sure that the information that you're giving to the front end is structured the way that it's supposed to be structured, that any calculations and logic and processes that need to happen on the back end take place, and that you produce the information as requested. So backend development really is great for somebody who's maybe not a visual person, somebody who's not as artistic or not as good at the tiny details of visual attributes. It's a very logical job, and really, in my opinion, that's what most developers probably get into development for. They like the logic of writing programs. So backend development is better than other types of development because it's not focused on appearances. But there's another important reason why backend development is better than other development, in my opinion. See, I've been a developer for quite a few years now, over a decade, and getting closer and closer to 2 decades. And over that period of time, and even over my lifetime, I have seen technology just make rapid changes. And not only have I seen technology change, but I've seen even programming languages change, and more programming languages coming into the development world. And not just programming languages, but then frameworks on top of that, and all of these different things. And really, it seems like most of the change, especially lately, seems to happen on the front end. Sure, we're definitely getting better things in PHP and Java, and those languages are moving forward, and they are adapting and changing. They're adding features and things like that, but they don't tend to change nearly as often as front-end frameworks and options and languages and ideas and all the different things that goes into being a front-end developer. And along with all that change comes the need to know a lot of different things. If you're a front-end developer, you need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You probably need to know at least one JavaScript framework, if not multiple JavaScript frameworks. You have to have some idea of design elements. You have to have a lot of different pieces of information and knowledge and put all of that together to be able to produce the product that you're trying to produce. But for backend developers, we can pretty much focus on 1, 2, maybe 3 things. We've got our backend code, we've got maybe a backend framework, and some sort of database. And really, you can pretty much stick with the same ones for years and years and years. So backend development is superior to front end or full stack development because it's more stable and it doesn't change nearly as often. Okay, number 3 is probably the biggest and most important one of all. But before I get there, could you hit the like button so that we can get this video out to more people? I would really appreciate it. If you're a junior developer right now, you're probably in the process of looking for a job. If you already have a job, be very thankful that you have a job. But if not, you're probably looking for a job. As you're looking for a job, you're probably noticing there's not a lot of them out there. And the thing is, you don't just want any job, you want a high paying job, because after all, that's probably one of the reasons why you got in development in the first place, is so that you can earn more money than maybe you were earning in a different job or different career. Well, the reality is that in most cases, backend developers actually make more money than front-end developers. I know, crazy, right? So why is that? Well, in many ways, people tend to think of backend developers as being more technically minded. They tend to have to work with things like infrastructure. They deal with database. They deal with specialized information a lot of times. And so backend developers just kind of are assumed to be better developers. Not only that, but there's also a lot less competition. All the boot camps are pushing out full stack developers, or mostly front end developers. What jobs are they going to be looking for? Front end or full stack developer jobs. They're not really going to be looking for back end jobs because that's not the focus of their training. The third reason why it tends to get paid more is it's pretty specialized. Generally, they want somebody who knows what they're doing with the back end. And if you can get on as like an apprenticeship or a junior dev job in a back-end role, you could really set yourself up for a very lucrative career. So the third reason why the back-end is better than front-end or full stack devs is it just pays more. But no matter which end of development you find yourself in, eventually you're going to hit a point where you need to de-stress. And one of my favorite ways to de-stress while still growing some of my skills as a developer is to play board games. Check out this video here to see 3 of my favorite board games that I think really help junior developers and senior developers grow their development skill sets while having fun. Hey, if you're finding this content helpful and you've not subscribed, could you hit the subscribe button for me and click the bell icon so you're notified the next time that I upload a video? And thanks for spending time with me today. I'll see you on the next one.